All right, folks, coming at you next from the Motor City, the man himself. You're about to meet one of the rock stars that's Vice President of Growth at eXp Realty, and his name is Russ Laggan. Coming up next on Cliff's Notes. Real estate agents, are you struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. Guarantees again today, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's good to be. This is like the old studio, man.
What are we doing here?
You reckon we cut our teeth on this desk? Did you know that?
I do. I remember many episodes ago. That was almost 3.5, 4 years ago.
Was it that long?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It has been a long time. My goodness. You know, we've got a super good friend of ours today as a guest, and actually we got to hang out with him a little bit in New York when we went up there to help ring the bell at NASDAQ, and I think you and Russ actually got into a couple of good stogies while you were up there.
A little celebratory stogie.
A little celebratory.
Yes, it was awesome. Right after the bell rang, we kind of snuck away from the after event there at NASDAQ and rolled into a local cigar lounge and just sat there and
pontificated, right?
Pontificated, yeah. We had a great time. It was nice to get to sit with Russ and with Sean, and so it was a fun time.
He's a great guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Let's bring him on, man. Russ, can we? Hey, there he is, all the way from Detroit City. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. If I got any better, it'd have to be 2 of me.
You'd be twins, huh? No kidding. That's terrific. Well, hey, man, it's great to reconnect with you here after it was just a few days ago. It was last week, I guess, that we were all together in the Big Apple and celebrating, I guess, our third bell ringing of the closing bell at NASDAQ with Glenn and the rest of the executive team and so forth. And man, it's so great. You know what I love about this company is we get to do crazy fun stuff like that. And I can't think of any other place where you'd ever get a chance to, to hang out and collaborate and just have so much fun together. And Russ, it was, again, man, ever since you've been with the company, you have left your imprint here already, and we're gonna dive into a little bit about you, but there's some things that people may or may not know about you, and one is that you love to build instruments. You want to tell us a little bit about your gig, your hobby, building string instruments.
Yeah, it's kind of a hobby of mine that got out of control years ago, and it was one of those things. Is like I wanted to be cool and learn how to play bass guitar. And what ended up happening is I went out shopping for a bass guitar, and I realized the price of the things that I really liked was ridiculous. So I was like, of course, in my infinite wisdom, I just said, "Oh, you know what, guys? If for $7,000, I'll just build my own." And 60 plus electric bass guitars later, I've built a bunch of electric guitars. I've sold them all around the world. I've got one of them was played on the soundtrack of Terminator movies. And I still have no idea how to play bass.
Oh my gosh.
Just knows how to build them. Yes. And you actually make them out of wood. Is that right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So I've got 30 or 40 exotic species in my house at any given time. And then, when COVID hit, it was really like one of those things you're like, well, the lumber yard wasn't open. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't do anything. And I'm like, well, now what do I build stuff with? And I'm looking around my shop and I'm like, I've got some cigar boxes. So then I got this wacky line of crazy cigar box. So I got a cigar box Les Paul. I've got a cigar box ukulele that's electric. I've got, here, I got this guy next to me. Here's a cigar box electric upright bass.
Whoa, dude!
That's a 100-count cigar box. These are all handmade wood pieces. I laminated all those up. They don't grow out of the ground that color. And then Cliff, just wait. Just so you have an idea how jacked up my sense of humor is. Well, it needs to stand on a leg, right? And then if you're going to have an upright, it's got to stand on a foot. So here's the foot.
Oh my God, that is so unbelievable. Cool. That's unbelievable.
the pterodactyl chicken foot. This is a playable, it's a playable upright. And if I knew how to play, I'd play it for you. But I don't know how to play, so it just stands in the corner.
Is crazy.
Custom guitars, yeah. He was showing me pictures when we were hanging out, and I was just blown away at his craft and how much time he puts into those pieces. It's like the one that you were looking at from Al Di Meola, right?
Yeah.
It's really neat.
Just a quick story. We were supposed to go to see Al Di Meola, one of my all-time favorite guitarists, last night, but we've had weather here. We've had like 3 days of just crap, and he got stuck and couldn't make it, so I put a little comment on his website, and I said, by the way, are you still selling guitars? So sure enough, his wife INs me on Facebook and says, yeah, they've got this really cool, flamenco guitar that Al bought in Germany and recorded a couple albums with. And it's, he'd love to, talk with you about it. It was really cool. But now I got a bass to go with the flamenco, right? So, we could put the band back together. What can we say?
We were talking about that.
That's right. That's right. Well,
I'm a maniac at air guitar.
Air guitar. There you go. I got to ask you. So, you're a little bit of an entrepreneur, obviously, and real estate is a great business for entrepreneurs to be in. Wouldn't you agree? I mean,
yeah. I mean, when you do the math and you run it back and forth, when I look at the amount of time, energy, and effort I've put into a couple of other things. So let's be clear. I'm not a professional. Well, I mean, I get paid to build bass guitars. They're $3,000 to $4,000 a piece, which is great. But I wouldn't want to run a business doing that, because the amount of time, energy, and effort it would take, and the cost, and I do the math, and I'm going, if I do really good, I can make 150, 200. If I do really good in real estate, I can make 5, 6, 7, 800 in the same amount of time. So like when you run the math, it's like, how much dollars can you make per hour? I mean, I'd love to do that, but I can't make the amount of money that I want to without going into a big thing. And then I'm looking at $500,000 for a shop. And, when you run the math,
yeah, I mean,
real estate is the biggest win in the world. Almost no cost and a massive amount of upside. Your only limit is you.
Right. It's great. There's very little barrier to entry capital-wise, and you don't have to own what you make, right, or what you sell. You don't have to build it. It's leverage, and that's what I love. To me, I'm all about leverage used correctly, which is why I'm at EXP with the rev share and all of that, because that's the ultimate form of leverage for us, and it's just a great opportunity. Let's talk a little bit about Russ for a minute, and I'm sure the audience would love to know, because as we talked about earlier before the show, we all start out right out of real estate school. Tell us a little bit about your journey into real estate, and where was that kind of the sort of zero moment of truth where you knew that real estate is where you needed to be?
I would love to say it was part of a master plan, and I had this plan and I was going to follow it. And I really kind of accidentally ended up in the real estate space, and it was kind of interesting. So let's see, in my late teens, I swung a sledgehammer on the railroad, and that taught me a valuable lesson, Cliff. Don't ever do that job. Number one, is dangerous. Number two, it was no fun. Number three, the pay was okay, but you're destroying your body, right? So I was like, I got to get into something that's not manual. So I got into, so I decided to get licensed as a hairstylist, because I think that's a great counterpoint to working on the railroad. And you'll see my beautiful hairdo. So I was licensed hairstylist for a number of years in my early 20s. And then I got into kitchen and bath design and project management. And that's where I actually learned a ton about houses, right? And I know you're going to go back to the hairstylist thing. People can't get away from that. So kitchen, bath design, project management. So I started to learn a ton about houses. And then I was tired of making the guy we were working for a bunch of money. So I started my own countertop company, making countertops out of concrete. Now, keep in mind, this is 1999. I would walk into a place and say, hey, do you have any interest in concrete countertops? And they're like, what, you mean like the sidewalk? I'm like, no. Check this out. And they put their hands on it, and then they're like, ooh, this is nice. So I was selling concrete countertops for $100 a square foot. Granite was like 60 in that market. So it was one of those artsy fartsy, super cool things. One of a kind, always odd. Everything was unique. And I learned some amazing lessons in that. Business lessons were phenomenal. I learned on the way out. Number one, don't ever build a business where you're the only thing in the brand, right? Number two, don't ever build a business where you're the only one that knows everything that's going on and how to do everything. Number three, when you sell a business, You got to be able to transfer it to somebody else so that they can take that and run with it. Because if it's not transferable and they can't do what you're doing, they can't make the money you're making, which basically kills the value of it. So I spent 4.5, 5 years building that company. In the process of selling it, I learned not everybody's honest. Not everybody does what they say they're going to do. And if I had positioned it better up front, I would have been in way better shape on the way out. Getting into business is easy. Getting out of business is tough. So 2004-5, I'm looking at this business. Real estate market in Detroit's getting destroyed because Ford laid off 40,000 mid-level managers. GM laid off 40,000. Chrysler lays off 30,000. So now you got 110,000 mid-level people making 80 to 100 grand a year, 120 grand a year, all going into the market within the same 2 or 3 months. So what happens to everything? You don't just go out and patch together $100,000 a year at McDonald's, right? So these people are going out, and some of them left town, and then the real estate market started collapsing. And so I'm like, hey, remodeling is slowing down. People don't have the money. So it's like, now's the time to sell the company, right? So I get that company sold. It was a train wreck selling it. Goes back to my railroad days, train wreck selling it. I know what train wreck is. And I learned a lot of lessons, and it was painful. And I said, well, I know more about houses than almost everybody else I know, so I should get into real estate. So I got on the mortgage side, and then 6 months later, I realized that is a wrong business for me. I don't like the paperwork. I'm like, this is crazy. And so I get licensed as a real estate agent. And then I did, of course, the smartest thing we could do, interviewed the top agents in the office. And they said to me, Cliff, this is a great question. Like I interviewed top agent in the office. Hey, Cliff, I'm brand new in the business. If you were me, what would you do? And you know what the guy said?
No,
get out of business.
Get out of business.
Like, wow, this guy's inspirational. We should put him in charge of something, right?
No kidding.
So I'm like, get the second guy. I take the second guy out to lunch, ask him the same question. And you know what? Son of a biscuit. He says the same thing. You should get out of the business. I'm like, what are you talking about? The real estate market was getting crushed because the rest of the market was getting crushed and the remodeling business was getting crushed. So I picked up everything, left Michigan, moved to Tampa, Florida to get into the best real estate market the world has ever seen. Went down there. My wife's cousin was a broker. He's like, Russ, a complete idiot can make 100 grand a year in Tampa. And I was like, I'm the biggest idiot I know. Let's do this. So I got to learn how to build a real estate business, knowing 0 people in a market getting completely destroyed in Tampa, because that was huge second home market. And as you know, going into 2005, 6, 7, 8, the second home market got completely decimated. So I had to learn everything the hard way. It was crazy.
But that's the best way to learn it, isn't it? I mean, you really don't learn a lot when it's, when it's
like this last year, 3 years that we've had, COVID.
Yeah, if it's a blue groomer, you're not learning how to ski, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So Tampa, but you did some amazing things in Tampa, though. Tell us the rest of the story here.
Yeah. So by mid 2007 or so, I got the award. I got an award from the office as being the top selling agent in the office for July of 2007. I got this little certificate, and I take this little certificate home, and I said to my wife, I said, honey, I'm a top agent in the office for the month of July. And I showed her a certificate, and she looks at me and she goes, what the hell did everybody else make? Because we're broke. I had sold 2 houses, I had 2 closings, and that was a number 1 agent in 2007 because more people had 0, right? So within a year or so of that, I started figuring out that where I was getting my business from was doing things that I loved. So I got most of my business from people I mountain biked with. I'm like, well, maybe I should mountain bike more. And that's when I really learned to build a sphere of influence business, right? So now I'm doing deals with Gary, who was riding behind me. He's like, hey, Russ, how's the market? And that's when I learned how to build a couple of recipes that work for almost every agent when they're brand new. So it was a ton of fun, kind of crazy. And the owners of the company said, hey, Russ, you're doing a good job surviving this market. And you've got 5 or 6 other agents that you meet with on a weekly basis, showing them what you're doing. Would you be interested in potentially running one of our offices? So I got to run my own real estate office in 2008. What they didn't tell me is the office was losing about $300,000 a year. Should have probably asked the question. I didn't even know to ask the question. So it took that from losing a bunch of money to making a bunch of money. And then by 2012, we had merged it with one of their other offices that had low company dollar, got the company dollar up. And then I realized for every $300,000 the owners make, I make 10.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I'm like, let's flip this. So I resigned. So 2012, my brother accused me of having a midlife crisis. I bought a Porsche, climbed Mount Rainier, and quit my job.
All in the same year?
All in the same year. Yeah. So suffice it to say, 28 years later, my wife is the toughest chick you'll ever meet because she just watched this shenanigans. Don't get me wrong, she's pumped brakes way more than once, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went out on my own 2013, sold 105 houses. It was an all
Okay.
right year. Yeah. 14 bought 50% of a real estate business. Myself and one full-time, one part-time sold 143 houses same year and 136 the next year. And I bought that real estate company, 50% of the real estate company in 14 and sold as a fix and flipper in 15 for way more than I paid for it. So it was kind of a cool run. And then over half of the country for them, the company that picked up ours because they didn't know how to sell houses. It was an REO company. They're like, hey, we need somebody who can teach us how to sell houses. I'm like, I know how to do that. So I started showing them how to sell houses and how to attract agents and grow their businesses. So I had 28 offices and a bunch of managers and taught them how to make money doing real estate, running real estate offices. So it's kind of fun. So there you go. I come by it honestly.
Wow. So we could go with, there's so many things I want to ask
directions, right?
Russ
Yeah.
right now, but I
We'll
think,
just put a helmet on. Let's go.
but how do you turn around a brokerage? What did you do to get the brokerage turned around in that short order and in that magnitude? That's incredible.
I did the exact opposite of what you think, right? So most people are like, we need to get more people. And my response to was like the guy that I was partnering with, he's like, Russ, I got this thing up to 100 or so plus or minus people. And like, I'm basically break even. Like, what's the next step? I can get people. I said, the thing is, like, you can get people, but you gotta get the right people, right? So let's do this. Let's establish basic 101. So a bar on the floor. Here's what we expect. And if you can't get over that bar, you trip over that bar, we just, sweep them out the door. So most of them will just trip out the front door and land on the street. And it's like, hey, thank you. But if you can't do basics well, we're not going to give you anything more complicated, right? So I don't think there's a single business in the world that can't go forward by going back to the basics, locking that down, rock starring the basics, and then you want to add something to it, right? Nobody started a master street.
Sorry, writing this down here. These are all writer downers. Okay. So mastering the basics, you can't even get creative until you master the blocking and tackling, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, yeah. So I'm not a football guy, but if you can't block or tackle, you're pretty much screwed.
Exactly.
That you got that. That's the ball that's pointy game, right? It's got the pointy ends on it.
Well, it depends
So,
on where you are. In
I'm more of
Europe,
a
it's a
hockey
round
guy.
ball. Football is a round ball. Yeah.
Yeah. So Detroit doesn't have a football team, so it's hard to be a football fan here in Detroit. Almost like Cowboys.
Yes. Oh God, I can go there. Yeah,
Sorry.
that's a whole another show. Yeah, we'll get Brady
Yeah,
Tinker
but
on
so
talk about that.
it's basics, right? Pull the company back to the basics is like, okay, let's make sure we're doing the basics well, and then you've got a good foundation to build off of, right? So think about building a pyramid, right? How do you build a pyramid? I would build a massive pyramid. You need a really big base, right? The bigger the base, the taller the pyramid. So when we think about real estate agents building their business, I would say, okay, well, first things first is we got to build the base. Like, what do you already have? Well, let's do a good job with our sphere of influence. These are the people that already know you, like you, trust you. There's your base, right? And they're like, well, Russ, that's not enough. Okay, well, let's add people to our sphere. And they're like, okay, well, how do you do that? Because people talk about this all the time, Cliff. They're like, build your sphere. And I teach people, scream how at the top of your lungs the next time you hear somebody say that. Because they're like, build your sphere. And I'm like, how? Right? Go out and do stuff you love, right? So C3, Cliff 3. I was like, I want to call you double junior because C2 is junior and then you're like double junior because that kind of sounds like an awesome hamburger. But C3. So for you, I'd say like go out and play golf. Join the golf club and then go play golf with 3 random strangers 2 times a week. That means you got 6 people you add every week. 6 times 4 is 24. 24 times 12 is a bunch, right? And you add those many people to your sphere and they're all doing stuff you love. So when you start talking golf, all your people are like, oh, I love golf. Well, no kidding. I met you golfing. Mountain biker. So I joined this mountain biking group and I'm like, all right, well, get involved in the mountain biking group. My wife's like, well, what are you doing to build your business? I'm going mountain biking tonight. She's like, what do you mean? There's 60 people meet at Hole in the Fence every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. I show up and I ride and I'm riding along and Gary behind me is like, hey, Russ, how's the market? And I started realizing, Cliff, this epiphany. It's like every time I talk to people, they ask me, how's the market? They don't ask me where I'm from. They don't ask me, like, when I say real estate, blah, 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 I'm a real estate guy. Every time it's, how's the market? They never ask me what brand I'm with. They don't ask me where my office is. None of that stuff, right? How's the market? And I'm like, dang, I got to get good at answering that. So I got really great at answering that.
You mentioned
So
you had some recipes, right?
Yeah, I'll throw you one of them. You want a good one?
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Nuggets.
Go out and do stuff you love. In the process of doing stuff you love, you're gonna look at them and like, hey, Cliff, blah, blah, blah. What do you do? Like, I do this. Hey, what do you do? I'm a real estate guy. I'm a real estate dude, whatever, right? And then the next thing they say is, how's the market? And now in the real estate business, Cliff, we teach everybody, well, this is your opportunity, right? You got to have an elevator pitch. So I do this cartoon character voice. I do this, like, you got to have an elevator pitch. So this was mine in like 2007, 8. My job is to get sellers top dollar for their house and help buyers get the home of their dreams. Right? Somebody asks you a question, and the first thing you do is go into sales pitch mode. What do? They run, right? They're bolting for the door. So they're like, okay, what do I need to say to them to make them come to me? So I started shifting my conversation. So you're welcome to steal this one, guys. Okay. So when somebody asks me, how's the market? My answer to them now is, you know what? That's a great question, Cliff. People ask me that question all the time. I shoot a real estate market update every month that tells people what's going on in the market. Would you like me to send it to you? And they say what?
Sure.
Yeah.
Every time, right? Here's the fun part. We talk about attraction and growing companies and so forth and growing agent stuff. Like, other real estate agents, when I meet them out and about, and I'm like, hey, by the way, do you get my real estate market update? And they're like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, I do a real estate market update every month that tells people what's going on in the market. Would you like me to put you on the list? And they all say, yes. So every month, all the people in my sphere and all the people in my other realtors that I know, this is how we build our company, right? Because the other realtors in the market we did business with are all wondering what's going on in the market. Most of them don't really know the info. So I become the source of info for my sphere of influence and for all the realtors around me. Now I've got people coming to me all the time, trusting me and looking at me like I'm an expert because I'm talking experty stuff, right? And it literally is that simple. So Cliff 3, right? C3. So here we go. He goes golfing, guy goes, blah, blah, blah. By the way, I do a real estate market update every month that tells people what's going on in the market. You want me to send it to you? And the golf dude goes, yeah. And the other guy goes, hey, send that to me too. Think about it, Cliff. If let's say you've got a stock that's worth $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, wouldn't you check on it once in a while? It's the same exact process. And those guys, and it's like, hey, listen, you don't have to look at it every month, but every 4, 5, 6 months, just take a quick look at it so you have a pulse of what's going on. If something's weird going on, I'll be telling you. And let's be clear, there's a ton of places. I've been in 10 markets in the last 3 months, and not only one of them was actually seeing this shift. The rest of them, there's some shifts and so forth. But when you look at the metrics, low supply, high demand, prices still going up, people are less freaked out. And right now, things are really starting to open up in a lot of these markets again, because the new norm, people kind of feel like, well, it's the new norm. I got to move forward. So they're moving forward again. So like in Michigan, we're at a 0.7 month supply of homes in the neighborhood I'm in, within 2 miles, 3 miles of where I'm at. 0.7. We're not even up to a 1 month supply of homes. Should we be telling that story as a real estate agent? Basic real estate 101. Know what the heck you're talking about. Know what your numbers are. Know what the market is, because people are going to ask you. Awesome.
For sure. Yeah. So do you pull your own stats, or do you use a third party to get your reports out? How do you generate your reports?
No, actually, I just go. So we have the system, a matrix version of the system here. I've been in a number of different states over the years, and I was licensed in Michigan and Florida. In Florida, they had we had the version there, but it was basically off the matrix brand. So in almost all the MLSs that I've seen, a bunch of them, on the opening page, there's almost always a little tile or a little click on for statistics, right? And in Michigan, we have Real Comp, which is based off of Matrix, which is the same thing they have in Florida for Florida MLS, my Florida MLS. And you just go in there and like right on the main page, unless you delete it, most of us don't have the tech skills to delete that. Unless you delete that, it's there. You just click on market statistics or go into the search and type market statistics. Almost all of the boards and MLSs have some compilation of that. And then my job is like, I take a look at it and then I summarize it in my voice with my pie hole saying it. And I want people to see my pie hole say it. Why? Because it's not Cliff's market update, it's Russ's market update. I want them to tie to me. I want them to see me saying experty things. I want my experty stuff to pop out of my face, because if they see me saying experty stuff, they're going to start thinking I'm an expert. They're also going to start treating me like an expert, and even better, they're going to pay me like an expert.
Interesting. Russ, let me ask you, do you put this report in, what form is it? An email? Is it a video that you embed in an email?
Great question. Yeah. Great question. So number one, easiest thing, if you do nothing else, do a short video, minute or two, maybe 3 max. If you're going to do a full update on what's really going on, but the little short stuff, social media one, right? Every month, do at least one. So I'm going to do a hyper local because people are buying hyper local now, right? And then I'm going to do an area one. So for me, I'd say, within 5 miles, 7 miles of Plymouth downtown, because that's a cool little downtown area, right? Within 5 miles of Plymouth downtown, here's what's going on. And by the way, here's what's going on in Detroit Metro. Okay, so I'm going to do both of those because all that info is on the same pages. So I can pull all the same info in the same time. It takes me another 2 minutes, right? And then I do a short video, post that on social. Let's say I post that on social today, and it'll go something like this. Hey, I'm Russ, a real estate dude. Here's a couple of interesting stats going on in the real estate market in Detroit, Michigan. And that's all for the stats real estate market update for January. I'll see you guys next month. Okay. Insert a couple bullet points between there. That's it, right? And then I post it, and then 2 days later, I post it again. And I say, just in case you missed it, because a bunch of people missed it. I know that, right? And I post it again. So I get double the duty. I do one thing, get double the duty, right? And I could do the second version, which is the area one. And then if people are moving in the area, you don't move inside your neighborhood most of the time. You move from your neighborhood to another neighborhood. Like I move from people move all around town, right? So I don't want to do just my area. And then people think I only do Plymouth. I do Plymouth and I do everything else too. So you get both of those, right? I'm going to drop those on a YouTube channel because somebody's saying, hey, what's going on in Michigan? YouTube they'll pop it up because they're going to Google it, right? Google is YouTube. It's synonymous. If you don't know how to build a YouTube channel, here's a good one, Cliff. You know how to learn how to do a YouTube channel?
Go to YouTube and they'll tell you, right? There's a video on YouTube that tells you how to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ever see a snake get really hungry and he bites his own tail? He's trying to swallow himself. He just keeps going around in a circle. Yeah, YouTube teaches you how to do YouTube, right? So do YouTube, right? And learn that real quick. And then what happens is people start finding you and searching you, and then people start coming to you. People want to see what's going on in the market, right? And that's a priceless way to do it.
You know, the beauty of this is even for agents who are hoarders that refuse to reinvest their business, or if they're new and have no money, this only costs them time. That's it.
It's dollars out of pocket. It's just time pennies, right? It's absolute pennies. So, and I'll tell you, Cliff, here's the funny part. I don't care where you are in your business. If you're brand new, you need to know this stuff. If you're a top level agent, you need to know this stuff. If you're a top level agent, you should be telling the market. The only question the market asks me all the time is, how's the market? That's the only thing people ask me all the time, right? Well, they ask me about guitars, but other than that, it's how's the market? It's the only question I get consistently all the time. So like top level agents should be doing that. If you are a team lead, you should be doing that for your team, and then make your team put it in their own words and spit it out. Now you've got you and your 10 favorite friends out there. Now you're creating momentum. Now you're creating a buzz. Now you're raising the tide for everybody.
I love that. I love that. So that was a huge nugget right there. I mean, just laid it down.
Something that you can take home and immediately implement.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like you said, Russ, you just do the math. If you meet a couple of people a week, 3 people a week times 52 weeks, or however you want to look at it, and you get to play a lot of golf, right? I mean,
sounds like I'm incorporating that into my schedule.
It sounds like you've got a Fridays. Yeah.
Once it warms up here, I'm going to be just picking the random tee time with people that have one spot open.
There you go.
There you go.
I think that's the way to go. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, Cliff, I'm going to tell you, this is a true story. I had this guy, blah, blah, blah. He was talking back and forth. And he's like, can you coach me? I'm like, absolutely. I said, well, what do you need to do? He's like, well, I really don't want to sell houses. I'd rather just golf. And I'm like, okay, so how about we build a business with you golfing? And he's like, yeah, that'd be great. But my wife's already on my butt because she's always telling me I'm golfing too much. And I said, really? Well, how many sales did you do in last year? He's like, something like 14. I said, great. How many of those were from people you played golf with? And he goes, I don't know. I said, well, find that out. Let me know when he comes back to me the next day. And he's like, Russ, I went through all my files, and 6 of the 14 were people I played golf with. I said, okay, what's your average sales price? 300,000, $9,000, 9 times 6. Do the math, right? You made 50 grand off of people you golfed with. Go back to your wife and sit down with her and say, hey, I got a business plan for you. In the last year, we made $50,000 from people I golfed with. Short story goes, he looks at her and she goes, "You need to golf more."
I love it. That's the way to get a woman on board.
Right. No, I
Save
think
a
that's-
marriage.
Save
Yeah.
a marriage right there. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
So Russ, you were talking about leads and being able to, meet with people with doing the things that you love. How about if an agent's looking to get into lead generation as a new agent, but doesn't have really the budget to get started? What are some of the strategies? I think you touched on this the other day on the mastermind that you did yesterday about how you have never even spent a dollar on advertising, and that's how you really built your business. So was through the
So
yeah.
it's kind of interesting because so I wrote up a little white paper and it was pretty much went like this. Let's do social media right. Okay, so social media is important. Everybody's like, social media is important. Well, how do you actually get social media to convert? Well, you got to start building people into your social media and doing things that people want to see. Nobody wants to see, "Look at me, I'm a realtor." Nobody, right? Like, think about it. I was talking to somebody earlier today. I was on another call this morning and I was like, "Have you ever seen your dentist?" And he's like this. He's like selfie with him. He's like, "Look at me, I'm drilling the heck out of that guy's tooth right now." Like, you never see that. Like, you don't see dentists doing that stuff, right? So like real estate agents are like, "Look at me." And when you make this shift to here's something for you, it changes the way you do everything. It changes the way you present yourself to the world. So instead of going on social media saying, "Gimme, gimme, 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 gimme," or "I'm trying to get something," you come across as a panhandler to everybody else, right? Instead of saying, like, "Here's something for you." That's why real estate market update's huge, right? So do that first, right? And then the second thing is like, okay, well, what else can I do that's free that I don't have to pay money out of my pocket for, but I need to build my sphere of influence and I don't have a whole lot of money to go out and do fun stuff and I can't afford to golf like C3 because he's playing nice stuff and he probably has like $12 golf balls, right? Like, I'm just like, all right, $12 golf ball times 12 balls. That's $144 in the water, in the woods. Somebody's going to love finding those later. So with that said, like, we're in the real estate business, right? And what do we sell?
Our services.
Ourselves.
Houses.
Yeah.
Houses, right?
Yeah.
Cliff, do you have one of those houses that stays in perfect shape all the time? Nothing ever breaks?
Negative.
Self-repairing house?
Negative. Yeah.
Right. So we talk about the average American moves every 7 years, right? Plus or minus. Okay. The average American with a house has 7 things on their house break every year. So shouldn't I be a resource and build a contractors list? So when they have something break on their house, they're going to call me. If they call me for that, they'll call me when it's time to sell. Now, every week I can say, "Hey, I'm building a contractor list of preferred contractors. They've got to be good, show up on time, be reasonable, communicate well, and be a fair price." I could build a list of that. So I built a list for myself. It's like, here's 60 different things, 60 different trades that touch a house. So I put together a list of that and I'm like, all right, so I've got 60 of those. If I just add 2 or 3 of those a week, now I'm adding people into my sphere of influence. I've got business I can refer. By the way, some of my people in my sphere actually are plumbers and painters, and why not help push them some business? And now I'm pushing their business. They should push business back to me, right? I know the contractor list doesn't convert at 10% like I can convert a sphere at, but it'll convert at 5 if you do a good job, 5%. So you add 100 people to your contractor list, you should be able to get 5 sales out of that just by building out a good contractor list. Now, Cliff, here's a jacked up part. There's people that think in the box, there's people that think outside the box, and there's people that lost their box many, many years ago. Okay. I don't even know where my box is. I know there's probably one with my name on it somewhere, but like, you're going to have to look for it because I don't know where it is. So now I've got a plumber, a painter, a roof guy, I got all these guys, right? I got a list of 60 of them. Well, here's the thing. Is there a difference between a high-end guy and a low-end guy? Yeah, fix and flip plumber is different than a high-end plumber, right? The high-end plumber's going to have the ability to program your 10 control shower head thing that you probably have in your shower, Cliff, because you seem like the kind of guy to have 10 shower heads kind of guy.
Not me. Now the bidet, I can't program the bidet for my wife, but
and why is the ceiling all flat? I don't understand what's going on here. All right, so we need an instruction manual for that. So
yes.
High-end plumber is different than a low-end plumber, right? So I need 2 of them. So now my list of 60 just turned into 120. And if I just work that list well, and they all get my market update, which makes me sound like an expert to them too, they can refer me business. And even 5% of 120 people is 6 sales. What, 7 sales? 8 sales a year. So now here's a fun part. I got a high-end guy. Is he good? Yeah. well, he's so good, he's busy, right? So do I need a backup guy? Sure. So I got 2 high-end guys, 2 low-end guys. So my list of 60 now turns into a list of 24 or 240. So I got 240 people on my list. You could just spend the rest of the year building that out. You're connecting with people, you're helping them get business. When they do something, you do a little promo in social. Hey, here's Chris the plumber. He just did a great job for me. Fair price, showed up on time, communicates. If you need a plumber, call Chris. And Chris is like, dude, you're the coolest guy I've ever met. And Chris will send me business, right? So even if I only convert at 5%, that's 12 sales in the next year, building out a contractor list. So simple things like that. C3, that's free. It's free. So how much dollars have we spent?
Breaks it down.
Market update and contract.
What was that?
I just built a market update and a contractor list. How much money have I spent?
Yeah.
Just time.
None?
Yeah, just time, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really awesome. And, if you're going to be in this business, you can't be an introvert either, right? I mean, a secret agent, you got to let people know what you do. I'm not I don't wear my name tag all the time. I don't have to, because they're going to know what I do, because I'm going to tell them what I'm going to do. That's just the way it is, right? You've got to be out there and stir it up.
See, I don't even do that. I just say, hey, I'm in the real estate business. I'm Russ, the real estate dude, and here's something you need to know about the market. Hey, I'm Russ, the real estate dude. I got a contractor list, and if you need a contractor, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm not trying to sell anything. They're selling me, right? They're coming to me. Like, I don't sell anything. I'm just like, hey, that's the guy.
From a mindset of abundance and a mindset of you want to help people. You want to, there's a theory of reciprocity that we talk about a lot, and that is if you do something for somebody, then there's an expectation that they have that they kind of owe you something, and they're going to do something for you in return. It's just like when you give somebody a referral, they feel really good about it. They're going to give you a referral back, that sort of thing. Yeah.
It's kind of funny because I'm more known as an attraction guy, and I'm like the recruiting guy and VP of recruiting with other. And I've done a ton of that. And the first thing I teach somebody, if you're going to attract people, you want to attract agents to your business, which we have to do just business building. People are like, well, I don't want to be a recruiter. Do you want to build your business? Yeah. What do you need to build your business? People? Okay. So do some business building, go get some people, right? That's the essence of recruiting, right? And the first thing I do is like say, hey, let's button up this stuff, make this easier. And then you show all the people around you this, and then they start selling houses. The more houses they sell, the more people they attract. And there's real estate agents on the other side of those house sales, and they should be getting my market update, and I should be telling them I have a contractor list. Now I'm a resource for them. And then they start calling me and going like, hey man, something's going wonky. My company just raised the price twice in the last year. I don't think I want to play here anymore. Let's talk. So I get people coming to me. So we talk about building business. For me, people is my business. And it's always add value first, and then the people will come. It's field of dreams, right? It's the field of dreams, right? If you build it, they will come. This is the stuff you build. You don't build a reputation for, look at me, I'm a realtor. You build a reputation for giving and adding value, and then people come to you. And that law of reciprocity, if you're clear on what you need, people will step up and bring it to you. They'll go out of their way to bring it to you. That's a brilliant thing.
Russ, what's your all-time favorite book that you read on how to build rapport?
Let's see. Little Black Book of Connections. Connections. That is
Connections. Okay.
Yeah, Little Black Book. I can see it from here. I'm just drawing a blank on that.
I think it's the Little Black Book of Sales, isn't it? Or is it Connections?
Well, there's a little Red Book of Sales. There's a little Red Book of Selling. There's a little Red Book of marketing. Yeah, so all of those things. So that group of books, I'll send over a picture of it for you. But Little Black Book of Connections, that's great to teach you how to build connections, right?
Yeah.
So before I even get into that, I get into like my favorite book, 2012, which flipped my world upside down. I read Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And then by the time I got to the end of it, I realized it really isn't even about money. It's about learning how to create in your life what you want. He talks about your roots bear the fruits. If you got apples on a tree, don't be pissed off it's not oranges. You got an apple tree, dummy. You want oranges, plant an orange tree. So if you don't like what you got, plant a different tree. Start growing it, right? I also like the old Chinese proverb. If you don't like where you are, move. You're not a tree.
Novel concept. Yes. Novel concept. Interesting.
There's two or three books by Sean Achor, Achor. Those are probably on my top, like The Happiness Advantage. literally goes into, Cliff, you'll love this, right? They actually did studies and said, if you have a happy thought before you would do a test, your test scores are actually higher. They measured it, right? So they had doctors come into a room and they're like, okay, before we do a test, we're going to test you on drugs, like what are the drugs and what do drugs do, right? And you're going to have to go through a bunch of these and remember them. And they said they had a control group and they just let them go in there, boom, 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 did their thing. They had the group go in and they said, okay, before you go in, here's a lollipop. They gave doctors a lollipop. And the doctors that got the lollipop, thinking a happy thought, tied them to something in their childhood. And they tested, I believe, 23 or 27% better than the control group without the lollipop. So they did a bunch of different studies saying, if you think a happy thought before you do anything, your ability to recall is way higher. By the way, if you think a happy thought before you do this stuff, like I do with you, your ability to remember and your ability to converse and your ability to connect is way higher. So before I go on stage, before I do any of this, I can think a happy thought. What makes you happy, right? And it changes the way your brain works. It changes the way your connections work. It changes your chemistry. Sean Aker did a bunch of studies on that, and it's just absolutely fascinating. And then he wrote another book called Before Happiness. Like, how do you get there in the first place, right? So those are the kind of things. So for me, my mantra is happy, healthy, wealthy, wise, in that order. I literally have it tattooed on my forearm. Happy first, right? If you're happy, like, that's the most amazing thing. Could you be unhealthy and unwealthy and still happy? Yeah. Could you still live a pretty good life? Yeah, happy is great. But if you're healthy and wealthy, but you're not happy, like, who gives a crap? Like, but it's happy first, right? So plenty of people with money, but they're not happy. So happy first. Be happy where you are now. Be happy in the process. Be happy in the step. Be happy where you're at this minute, and then happy in the next minute. And then when you get to that result that you're going for, you're going to be standing there happy. People go like this, Cliff, they go, when I get to here, I'll be happy. It's like, no, when you're on your way there, be happy. Because when you get there, then you'll be happy all the way there and you'll be happy at the end, right? Like, I'm not happy at the end of a triathlon. I don't race them anymore because I had 2 hips replaced. But the finish line was not the happy part. It was the training, and it was the people, and it was the race itself, and the high fives on the way through, and the funny signs people would make. You got to enjoy the process. At the end, you're kind of like, man, I want to do that again because that was a fun process I went through. The finish was just part of the process, but it's happy first. And of course, focus on your health.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have your health, you got nothing, right?
Yeah.
A bunch of money, but you're not healthy.
Yeah. That's
what
for
Glenn
sure.
Sanford's doing right now. Is I got a bunch of money, but I got to be healthy.
So it's backwards on his arm. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're about 5 minutes until.
What?
Yeah, we're about 5 minutes until.
Oh my gosh! You got to be kidding me.
No, sir. Check your.
Wow.
Check your watch there. It
It
is backwards though.
I just found out I don't have a clock on this TV up here, and I just found out what time it was. Look at that! Wow.
This is
Yes.
it. Like in Detroit, they're like, looks like Arabic backwards, right?
It kind of does.
But he's the only one that can read it.
I see it
Interesting.
in the mirror.
Yeah.
I see it in the mirror every day. I start
Yeah.
my day with it, and I end my day with it. Brush my teeth.
That's
left hand.
awesome. What a great idea. Yeah.
Great reminder.
Amazing. Yeah.
You want to double check the clock here?
Yeah, let me see here. Yep, that's about right. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Russ, this has flown by, man.
Yeah, and before we close it out, I want to bring up one of the mantras that you have for the audience, and I want you to kind of elaborate on it real quick as we wind down the show. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Talk about that. When you said that to me while we were smoking a cigar, it really resonated with me, and I took it home with me, and that's really, it's helped me overcome some things that I haven't taken action on, and so it's inspiring. How did you come across that?
Well, it's kind of funny because you see people with a ton of money and a horrible family life. You see people with a ton of money and a horrible work or a horrible work environment, but they're making a bunch of money and they hate their life. Like it's literally like you have to look at it holistically. It's not just a one thing, right? So like typically you're going to find somebody that has messed up business, has a messed up family, or has a messed up home. Something's messed up, right? So when I see somebody and their business isn't right, I go like, oh, okay, what's going on at home, right? So the amount of effort you put into your business, the amount of effort you put into your health, the amount of effort you put into people around you, the amount of effort you put in your family, like how you do anything is how you do everything. If you're half-assing your relationships, you're probably half-assing your business. You're probably half-assing your kids. You're probably half-assing, everything, right? So when you get in and go at it, like you give the best you got at that time, right? I always want to go faster and better. Like I raced my first triathlon, I get to the end of it, I'm like, God, I could have done better. I'm going to train a little more. I'm going to train a little more effectively. I'm going to eat a little healthier. I'm going to do a little more strength training. And then the next one I do a little bit better, right? But for me, it's like I want to do the best I can with what I got at that moment. And so for some of you guys, it might be like $25,000, $30,000 a year is a big deal. 50,000 might be a stretch. But knock it out of the park, go all in on that 50. And then what you find is you do the same thing. And the next thing you know, you're doing 100. And the next thing you know, you're doing 200 and 400 and 600. But you can't sacrifice your family at the same time. So can I be amazing at business and be amazing family? Yeah. Can I be healthy, happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise? Heck yes. You can have it all, because how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So put the effort in. Put the effort in with your family. Put the effort in with yourself. Put the effort in with the people around you. Put the effort in with your business. Go all in on everything you do. Do it all. That's why I forge knives and I sell them for $300 a pop. I build bass guitars, they're $3,000 to $4,000 a piece. I sold a $300 cutting board the other day because it's the best. That's the only way I do it. If it's not awesome, I don't want to touch it. And if it's not awesome yet, I'm going to get better at it. It's the best I could do at the time. And my skill set keeps getting better, and then the income comes with it.
Great words of wisdom. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, Russ is a great guy.
Yeah.
I'm excited to spend more time with him and excited to have him on the show. I mean, I think he dropped a lot of great nuggets for our audience today, and especially for some of the newer agents that are out there and in the audience.
Well, not only on the show, but in the company, man. This guy's one of our brothers here at EXP.
This guy is killing it.
And we're all rowing in the same boat. So, man, it's super exciting, Russ, that that you're a part of what we're all pulling together here to do. We're doing it right, man. I'll tell you, there's no question about it. I just sorry we ran out of time today, and I'm hoping that you would honor us by coming back on the show a little bit down the road. We'll do a little checkup from the neck up with you and see what's new in your world, man. But I just want to thank you, C3, and I want to thank you for being here today. And I know you're headed south. You're going to be snowbirding,
migrating.
Yes, the great migration by car, by the way. Yeah, and so you said in Detroit it's going to be 3 degrees tonight.
I believe the temp tonight is going to be 3 or 4. Probably when we're loading up, it'll be 9 tomorrow.
9 tomorrow.
Mother Nature's too wise. Kick you up,
right? And so you're headed down to the exactly. You're going to be going down to the east coast of Florida. What's it going to be like there?
Yeah, I think it's 82, 83, 84.
Oh, God.
I think the low temp on Tuesday is going to be 78. Oh, the horror. Hey, good news is the pool's set at 93 at the Airbnb.
That's
they got it
beautiful.
set just for me. I'll be outside of Orlando, and I've got some events to do there for Mitch Ribeck, and Carlos German's got me coming into town talking to his people. So I'm super excited to be rolling up Florida.
Who cares if there are no seasons in Florida, right? I mean, we don't really care. We'll take some of
hotter, and holy crap, that's hot.
Yeah, that's right. it. That's it. All right, my brother, we're going to wish
Russ,
you the best.
Thank you so
have
much.
A safe trip, and thanks, man, for just pouring down the nuggets. I felt like it was raining nuggets in here in the studio,
Yeah, and I didn't mean to steal the show today, but
no, man. Hey, but you got to hang out. I didn't even get to hang out with Russ and smoke a stogie, but maybe
it's not
next
really
time.
in the cards anymore for you.
Well, I am trying to watch my health here a little bit.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, I did used to like a good cigar, though, now and again. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, what can we say? Thank you for being here today. If it wasn't for you, it wouldn't be us. Show us a little love. Hit a like button, push a button, do something, take action, and let us know that you enjoy what we do, because we're here for you. And we're going to be back for you next week right here on Cliff's Notes. All right, folks, tune in to Cliff's Notes every Thursday at 1 o'clock Central for the tips, tricks, and tactics to explode your business. I guarantee it.